Hello, everybody. It's your boy, H to the Z, back once again, slightly hungover. Been a bit AFK from content creation this weekend because we've got a friend visiting. One of my friends from school who lives in Spain is staying with us this weekend. So just been hanging out with him, doing a lot of boozing. Speaking of boozing, 2 weeks of pub quizzes that have been missed. We've done okay. Don't know if there's any interesting ones here. I'm giving it a quick look. I think we absolutely... no, that was teams that won the African Cup of Nations 2 or more times. We had Cameroon, Algeria, Nigeria, Egypt, which were all right. We had Senegal, which was wrong. Because they won, I think they won the last one, right, Senegal? I guess that's the only one they've won. MRI, we got wrong. We put magnetic radio imaging. I think it's magnetic... something. What's R? Hang on. Googling. MRI. Magnetic resonance imaging. There you go. Still learning. Yeah. Countries that end in AND was an interesting one, actually. That was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. We got them. There's 7. And obviously, you cannot have countries which are not UN recognized countries like Scotland or England. You cannot have those. We are the United Kingdom. So I'll give you a second. But our answers were Switzerland, Finland, Republic of Ireland, which you can have, Iceland, Poland, New Zealand. And the other one was, I have no idea. No memory. That was all right. They asked this question again, which 2 of the phonetic alphabet things are dances? Just Foxtrot and Tango. Was there anything super interesting in this one? There was one that I knew and my team overruled. Well, I didn't know. I was pretty sure my team overruled me, and it was put these UK prime ministers or UK people, politicians, in order, descending age order. There was, I will not give you them in the right order. There was Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, Hamza Yousaf, and Nigel Farage. And Nigel Farage is younger than Keir Starmer, which I thought, but my team overruled me. I also thought the Pickwick Papers was Charles Dickens, which was right, but I got overruled on that. Anyway, that's enough. How much have we done? 2 minutes 30 of just yapping. Time to get onto the yapping about Smite 2. So basically, this is just going to be me giving my thoughts on what's going on in Smite 2 competitive, and probably doing my wish list for Smite 2 as well. Yeah, I took these notes when I was in America, and I haven't had a chance to make a video on it yet. I watched Twig, Haddix, Van, Genetics, and fineokay's videos on the topic, so I'll be going through them. And for the love of Christ, if you do these videos and you're like, I'm doing a Q&A with chat, pull the chat up. These motherfuckers are like, I don't have Smite to take seriously anymore, so I'm going to take content creation more seriously. But they can't pull up their Twitch chat when they're recording. So annoying. So annoying. Okay? Figure it out. I think maybe Van had it on. Fines was a video separate. I think it was Twig that mostly annoyed me. Anyway. Let's just go through them in the order I watched them. So I watched Twig's first. He talked about how players didn't necessarily want to have moved out to the US. They preferred the old EU-NA divide. And with Smite competitive ending in the form that it's in, the reason that we don't have the outcry that we had, for example, when there was no Worlds a couple years ago, is because the pros have differing opinions. I think a lot of people want to go home, is basically what he was getting at. He was like, obviously, I'm going to stay here because I'm married and have a baby, so he can't really just leave. But yeah, I think that's why this stuff didn't really get leaked, and pros aren't mad about it because they're not so against it. Yeah, Twig was also talking about how he was against everybody getting the same salary and away from distributed lands, but he was also for the move to Georgia. He really liked the move to Georgia and taking things more seriously. I feel like, to be pragmatic, you can't have one without the other. You can't lower the salary for the 8th placed SBL team and have them still move out to Georgia and live there. They just won't be able to afford it. Even with the money they were earning there, what was it, 46K per player? no health insurance, etc., etc. These are a lot of costs. Obviously, some people who did content do very well. Let's not say, oh, poor them. And also, they're getting paid to play video games, which is sick. But I think that like you would have to have a bigger pot of money if you wanted to have distributed salaries depending on performance through phases. I just don't think it was tenable with the amount of money that was there. Twig also said that he wasn't, like, they were told when they were moving out to America that the production stuff was really going to improve, like SPL was going to improve as a product. But I think especially the first year it was pretty bad. And also the visa stuff stayed pretty bad throughout. I think Kona not getting out to the SPL this year is like the biggest, like, what the fuck? Where are we, you know? How are we still in this situation? And obviously we had like the Valk situation and other things like that. I think COVID definitely a factor, to be fair. But yeah, I think maybe if it wasn't for COVID, this could have been like great and made the scene better than it was. But I think as it was, the players being out in America was somewhat wasted in terms of content that was made. They did start doing content days. I don't know, thought the content was okay. I really liked Battle Sounds of the Gods. That was probably my favorite thing that they made in the last little while. But I felt like, yeah, generally the players being out there was wasted. Players being in studio didn't mean that the broadcast had lots of better things. Like, we didn't get any listen-ins for comms for ages. Eventually we did, but yeah. Twig also talked about spaghetti code a lot in this video, which makes me want to puke. Anytime anyone mentions spaghetti code, it's just like, I don't know, it doesn't mean anything. Anyway, that was Twig's video. Haddix's video, he seemed pretty optimistic about Smite 2 and positive on the way that esports in Smite 2 is being started. He was against salaries as well. Again, mentioning like the best player in the league should not be getting paid the same as the worst, you know, week to week. It should be performance based. I think he made a pretty good point about how well the esports scene in Smite have like represented ourselves in the last couple years with SWC and with all the support around that. I think that's like a really good thing for us to have, to say, look, this is real, this is good. We should keep Smite esports being a thing into Smite 2, you know, they shouldn't just go like hyper casual. Salt and Haddix are planning on getting an apartment together in Georgia, so Haddix doesn't want to move back to Michigan, I think it is. He says Michigan sucks, and he wants to stay in Georgia. And he also had like a good point that I don't think has been touched on all that much, but touched on the fact that it was really difficult because Smite was on Unreal Engine 3 to hire people to work on it, because it was all, you know, like dinosaurs who were, you know, well embedded in teams that you needed to get in. And it's going to be much, much easier for them to hire new people to work on the game with the upgrade to UE5. Ven talked about full-time streaming until Smite 2 drops. That's his plan, so not disappearing. None of these guys talked really about how they're disappearing from comp so far, by the way. Twig talked about it a little bit, how he might want to try and teach some young guns and then retire or be a coach or something. But Van talked about streaming until Smite 2 drops. He's unsure if he wants to compete. He said he was a little burnt out from working with high-res. I think that's... Van's always been a little burnt out with working with high-res. He's one of the more outspoken people about bad decisions. I think he can be a bit naive, to be honest. I remember him and Haddix were talking about it at some point. Like how they should just do a LAN here. Just go to the OTK had a stadium somewhere. Just do that instead of things. And but like, I just don't think people consider the logistics of like how much that stuff costs, and it's a lot. They're like, just do a LAN in a different place, but with no fans or a minimum amount of fans. But it's like the flying however many players plus production staff plus whoever else casters out is real expensive. But yeah, he says he's moving back home to Rhode Island, Italy, in February. As we all know, Ven is Italian though. He's going back home to Rhode Island in February. So this month, I guess. I don't know if he's already back. Genetics made a video, but it was pretty much all about the Season 11 meta. It wasn't so much about Smite Esports as a whole. I'm getting a phone call, 1 second here. Sorry, that's my friend on his way back. We're gonna go have dinner with another friend. But yeah, Nex pretty much said that his video was pretty much all about Season 11 meta and what he thinks is good and bad. So if you're interested in that stuff, I'd check out his video. And the only thing to do with Smite 2 Esports, he said, was that he's basically treating this year as like a vacation from competing. But I guess that means he still wants to compete. fineokay, I think if you're going to watch one of the videos, I'd probably watch Fine's. I really liked the points he made. He talked really explicitly about the fact that the game was heading for death. And even without insider knowledge, which he undoubtedly has, and maybe I even have a little bit of as well, you can kind of see it from the pattern of things that was happening in Smite over the last little while. There were like big sweeping changes to try and get people re-energized and into the game again. Stuff like 9.5, like huge sweeping changes to the game to try and kind of rework the way the game feels. There were big collabs to try and attract players. There were layoffs, like a significant amount of people got laid off at high res, which I think, was cost cutting, as well as, I don't want to say like people just in tech just follow what other people do. I kind of hate it, but that's the way it is. Like, big companies are doing layoffs, so everybody else does layoffs. They're like, oh, it seems like the way to go. Anyway, Fine also talked about how, and I knew about this at the time, pro players pushed back on being asked to advertise in-game like cosmetics and jerseys last season. They knew Smite 2 was coming, and they didn't want to like sell stuff to you, the fans, with knowing that it's a bad thing to buy. So that was cool. I knew there was like a thing. There was like the Esports pass. It was gonna go to players or prize pool or something, but didn't end up happening. And then on the skin stuff, I guess I'll talk about the skin stuff. I don't think many people are like honestly complaining about it, and the people who are just like children probably. But like obviously, you can't just give everybody the stuff that they have in Smite and Smite 2. It's a new engine. You have to remake all the assets. It's expensive. They've talked about it in terms of like how many man hours it takes to make a skin and stuff like that, which is cool. I also feel like the same people complaining about the skins are the same people who like complained about the drops collabs going to streamers who didn't stream Smite all the time. And they just have like a fundamental misunderstanding of business. They're like, no, it should go to Weekend because he's streaming the game all the time and we already watch him. And we're like, yeah, it's not for you. It's to attract new people. They don't want, the people who watch Weekend getting free stuff because you're already paying for stuff. But I don't know. Yeah. Fundamental misunderstanding of how to run any business, I guess. All right, let's speedrun this. I got to go quick. So that was the Smite 2 video stuff, esports stuff. Excited to see. They said there's going to be a LAN somewhere in Europe, which I would love. I hope I get to go somewhere new that I've not been. But they were talking about there being 2 LANs. I don't know if that's going to be this year or next year. I feel like they've been a bit wavy with the language, but we'll see. I don't have access to Smite 2 yet. Kind of wish I did. Maybe someone hook me up, maybe. But here's my wish list for Smite 2. Improved Spectator client. You won't be surprised to hear that I would like Spectator to be functional, maybe. That could be nice. I would love more powerful custom game options as well, for competitive specifically, but, like being able, I think League has this, it's like I think it's called Chrono something, but it's basically like you can restart a game from a certain point. You can take a backup of when the game was and restart. And I would love options for doing things like that. So that, like, for example, if you're a competitive team and you want to practice a certain point of the game, fire giant dances, for example, sieging, maybe if you're the dragons, you set up scrims with another team and you say, okay, we're going to spend an hour on this time. We'll set up the game ahead of time and we'll go from there. So I would love that kind of thing. I would also love just improved custom game options for everybody as well. Like something like Halo 3's The Forge. If people played Halo back then, you got so many fun custom games that made that game like just so amazing to play. You could spend hours not even playing matchmaking. I would love that. I think the Smite community would come up with some cool things. I really hope there's improved anti-cheat in Smite 2. Currently, EU is getting absolutely railed by the same five people maybe cheating all the time on cooldown, sniping streamers, being horrible, saying racist things, and they have like infinite accounts somehow. Don't know what's going on, but the anti-cheat never catches them, as far as I know. They only get banned through like manual reports from people like myself, which is very unfortunate. Maybe I'll do a video on that itself in the near future if there's no improvement. But I guess if Smite's gonna die and Smite 2 is coming out, we'll see. I don't care about clans. Never have cared about clans. Doesn't matter to me. I hope they add automated. This is a bit of like inside programmer stuff. I hope they add automated testing. I think there's like no automated testing in Smite pretty much, and I feel like that's why we sometimes see, you know, stuff that's supposedly fixed is not. You see the wrong things getting released at Worlds. The wrong build was played for Game 1. Game 1, the duo lanes. Game 1 of Worlds, the duo lane hit 2 before they hit the lane, which should not have happened. Stuff like that should not be happening. I'd love to see automated testing, and I think we see a lot of regressions in Smite as well, stuff that breaks and people don't notice. And I think that having automated testing would be a really powerful way to prevent that. You know, you've got a suite of tests that needs to run and pass before you can release a build. And working leaderboards. Working leaderboards would be nice. It's taken a long time, but we are kind of there with working leaderboards right now. I feel like leaderboards are pretty functional just now, but I don't know. They could break any second, and I wouldn't be surprised. So working leaderboards would be nice, and like a good function for racing to the top. I know they've said they're removing MMR cap, which is good for matchmaking, but yeah, I'd be sick to be able to watch, for example, like Adapting and Johnny racing to be the #1 for the season. You know, they're grinding and they're going for it. I think that would be really cool to see, and you could watch the streams and you could check the leaderboards when you get on and see how things went when you were asleep or whatever. Yeah. Right. This has been me havering about Smite 2. I'll upload this video today. I'm gonna go eat some vegan meatballs with my friends. So yeah, I mean, maybe have a couple of glasses of wine. I've drank way too much this weekend. I hadn't drank at all for like 2 weeks because I've been sick. Now I've absolutely ripped the arse out of it, as we say. Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.